Tonight is Thursday, September 8th. It is approximately, like I said, 6:36. We're here for the ARPA Committee meeting. We are recording, probably broadcasting live, recording on Zoom as well for anyone who is at the home office. We currently have Sandy with us, our acting town administrator, Christopher Monroe, KP,
Susan.
and Susan. Sorry, I went blank on that one.
Hi,
And-
James.
And one member of the public, but he has no comments yet. So we're gonna call the order. We have no one else here from the public, so we're gonna move beyond the public piece. We're gonna jump right into the harder thing. We do not have any minutes to review. I know Tony was taking a look at working on them, but I'm guessing they're behind the select board minutes, so when she gets to them, we'll have them. In the meantime, Sandy, is that you're gonna lose battery?
No.
Oh, good. Sandy, I think we had asked you here tonight to update us on a couple things. The first question, I believe, was relevant to the town center project. Just if you can give us a little understanding of what that cost is for, how it came about. I know we've spent a little bit of money through some various other town meeting articles on funds for the town center for appraisals and
Right.
payout for appraisals. So this is a little bit different. This is for tech. This is for a consultant to oversee the whole 68 project.
Right. This is a bill from TEC. They said it would cover the their part of this town center project as far as attending meetings for us, dealing with the Mass DOT. They
Madam Chair, it looks like the internet might actually be down for town hall at the moment.
Well, that's
So
okay.
I don't know if that impacts our Zoom and our ability to be broadcast live.
It's possible, but if it's not broadcast live, then it will be recorded.
Okay.
So, I
Oh.
can't
Recording in
control,
progress.
I can't control the
came back.
internet.
Sorry.
That's okay. That is okay. So, they sent us an invoice. They, meet with the, Mass DOT and, just oversee all aspects of the project to make sure everything's running smoothly, all the permits are in place, everything, that needs to be done, and their fee for this is $20,000.
Now, is this something that we would have normally planned as part of the cost for the 68 project? Like, did we know this was coming ahead of time? Is this something that just developed, or is this something that, normally comes in these projects and we just weren't forecasting out to have the funds? Or is this something that might have came up because we're, you're filling in as the acting and we don't have a permanent TA yet, so this was something maybe in place for that?
No, this was something in place while Ryan was still here. He knew about it. He said that, it would have possibly been built into the budget, but we did not know about it ahead of time. So if it does not come from ARPA, his recommendation is it would be something that we could take from free cash, cause it is a one-time fee thing.
Okay.
So that is his recommendation, that if ARPA doesn't cover it, to take it from free cash.
Recording in progress.
I give up on Zoom. Okay, thank you, Cindy. Do you guys have more questions for Sandy on that? I know the other question related to that was, in any event, would it have come from or been built into the highway department's budget?
No.
Okay, it would have always remained separate.
Right. It probably would have been a separate article on the town meeting warrant.
Okay.
And not part of a budget or anything.
KP, Susan, Chris, do you guys have any follow-up questions pertaining to that project?
I do not.
That answered the questions I had.
KP? Okay, so the other questions we had, Sandy, pertained to the $50,000 Ann Goby earmark funds. And when we met last year, it was the impression of the committee from Sandra, based on what she knew, that the 50,000 was either for the DPW roof or the track at the rec field.
Mhm.
And I think you did a little digging on that to find out the answer for us.
I did. I reached out to Senator Goby's office, and she replied and said that it specifically says in the budget that this is for the DPW facilities.
Okay, so it is not for
So there is
the-
nothing in there for the trails, or, walking trails or anything.
That's interesting.
So maybe it was at one point in time, and then it got solidified into a specific part of the Lincoln.
Right.
Do we
Yeah.
have a quote on the DPW roof?
The DPW roof is about $100,000.
Do we have an idea of where we're gonna pull that other 50 from?
I believe that was part of the capital plan.
Okay.
Yep.
Alright. So there was that question, and then the other question we had, and you and I talked a little bit about it, was, you were reaching out to the, state, I never know their acronym, Mass Commission on Disability relative to the ADA grant that's out there right now and due the end of the month, and
Right.
what type of projects would qualify.
Right, I spoke with Evan, and he told me, I explained to him that we were looking at a walking trail, making it ADA compatible, so would that qualify under this type of grant? And he said the only criteria for this grant is that the property has to be town-owned and you're trying to do something to make it ADA compliant.
Okay. Any questions on that? So do.
We meet both those criteria?
Yeah, both of
Yes.
those properties, I believe, is the
I have a question, well,
trail.
I
Town.
have questions about the second prong of that, whether meeting ADA criteria or failing to meet it is something that is going to be applied to a walking trail. Because I know, thinking about it from back in my litigation days, ADA compliance cases were all about the width of the doorway, the height of the paper towel dispenser, like those kinds of things. They were things with specific standards.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that there are ADA specific standards to fall short on for a walking trail. That's why I think there's a question mark there, and I don't think that it's possible to just say, yep, we definitely would hit that criteria, because it's complex.
What is the dollar amount of the grant?
There's all kinds of money out there, so.
Oh, so this isn't something we have in hand, this is something
No,
that
no,
we
no,
would
no.
have to
apply
apply
for.
for
This
it.
is the
I see.
eligibility of one or both of these projects
I
to
see.
seek out alternative funding.
Okay.
Right, and we have till the end of September to apply for this grant.
Okay,
So if it was something that we were gonna try for, we'd have to get
Kraken,
on the ball.
yeah. So, alright, so that answers that question. Do we have any other questions for Sandy pertaining to any of the applications?
Well,
we're-
well, we wanna apply for this grant, right?
right,
well-
yeah, that's my next my question is who initiates that process?
Well-
Heather and I talked, and we would kinda do it as a combined project.
Yeah, we
Type of
would,
thing.
I would support her as much as I can. I have a lot of the backup. So when you submit something for the ADA project, there's a lot of documentation you have to have just in place. You have to have someone who's assigned as the ADA coordinator, that's easy enough. And we usually already have that.
We do.
You have to, they give you like draft forms for doing a notice that you're a equal opportunity employer. You have to have a policy on file. There's a couple basic documentations. Then you're required to do a walkthrough of your facilities and just note, the major things that are either in compliance or not in compliance. That's probably the most time consuming, but it's not, like, they don't make you go through this detailed checklist, which you could find online, but you don't have to do that.
Okay, But so that gets initiated at the town administrator level, or the select
Yeah.
board level, or
It would be up there.
everywhere,
Yeah.
okay, fine.
So are we confident we have the resources to get this application completed and in on time?
I could definitely help Sandy and we could get it in. I mean, the biggest holdup is making sure we have accurate, description of the project and quotes, and I believe we have a little bit of both of that for both of those potential projects.
It sounded like they have what you need.
Both of what
Just-
projects?
Well, regardless of which one we did, either the rec
The rec
trail
field, yeah, or the
or the
or
rec
trails.
So
Both
either
of
the walking track or
the grant can support both of those projects?
No, you'd wanna pick one, cause you'd have competing,
Well, that's
you
what I
don't
mean,
wanna have
both are
competing.
eligible to be supported by the grant?
Potentially. It's just making the way, to Chris's point, you know, the hardest thing is looking at, if there's a standard, and while there isn't, I don't know if there's a specific standard for trails, I bet we can look and see if there is one on Google at some point. I know they do have standards as to general slopes, right, so what do I need to get a wheelchair?
Our representative seemed to be pretty clued into that stuff,
Yeah.
so he probably knows.
Yeah, and that's how they're, I mean, they're
More
obviously
so
following
than-
some guidelines
Yeah,
to
more so-
specifically comply.
Right, more so it seemed than the walking paths at the rec field.
Yes. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is the ADA doesn't require, but obviously they like to see, like anyone else, money that you're supporting on the community end towards the project. They don't have like a 50% or 25% match or anything like that, but it makes the project stronger the more boxes you can check. So that would be a consideration piece.
Mm-hmm.
Would CPC be willing to
Put up some funds.
that, yes, I
Well,
was
it's
gonna say
po-
contribute to the pot, but yes.
It's possible, but the problem with that, with CPC funds, is you'd have to get it approved at a town meeting, and you're not gonna be able to do that before it goes, the application's due.
Right.
So the question is, if we were to try one of those projects, which project would be the stronger one to try for? And we also talked about last week the fact that the walking track is probably the stronger project for general public support, because it's something that more people see.
Yeah. And I think more people would be apt to, if you had someone in a wheelchair or such, they'd be more apt to go around that than through trails. Does that make sense?
Yes and
Although-
no, I think, yeah, Chris.
Yeah, so there, from what was stated to us by the applicants and from what I've seen from my own experiences, there is a niche for accessible trails. And that it's something that not just town users would use, but it's something that people would actually travel to use, because there aren't a lot of truly accessible trail loops and places that are worth traveling to.
Yeah.
And we also discussed, this type of trail development is something that's mentioned in our master plan
Mm-hmm.
as
Okay.
an ultimate goal for the town.
So with that, do we have, I mean, that gives us a little more information, a possibility of funding for one or both of those projects. We talked about using CPC potentially, or sending like Sandra there for the walking path.
Right.
Cause again, goes back to what you said, it's more likely that the town residents are gonna come to the town meeting and vote yes to transfer those funds for that purpose.
Yeah.
Than the other piece. And as Mike had said last week, you know, one of the strong benefits he thought of funding the open space for the trail was that it opens up the door for more projects and more requests, right? If we go for a grant, we say, listen, we already funded X
Yep.
to open up the door and get us into that,
Okay.
so. Alright, so do we have any other general questions for Sandy, or any other specific items on this that we want to open discussion on? Okay, so where we have right now, just to review and just so Sandy has in her mind as well. So where we left off, we didn't make any changes last meeting. So Giacomo's, I'm only gonna read things that we put funding towards penciled in. Giacomo's kitchen upgrades, big capital, $15,039.18. Parks Commission, Curtis Field Walking Track, 50,000. Council on Aging Outdoor Space Deck, 60,000. Fire Department New Ambulance, 250,000. Town Administrator Scanning Town Documents, $13,611.05. Here for You Lost Revenue, $31,445.08. Town Administrator Town Center, 20,000. Open Space Trail Improvement, 60,000. Plainview Farm Gift Shop Enhancement, $26,450, putting us in the negative still by $97,800.
Yes, and I will note again that we reached no agreement on the ask by the cemetery commission, so it's, as opposed to a determination not to fund it, it's just blank.
Okay, that is fair. That was one we could not come to, we had 5 different views. We didn't even have consensus on that one. Okay, with that being said, I'd like to start the discussion around the town center. So this is $20,000 project, we had a lot of discussion last week. My point on this maintains being the same, which is that, I think this is something that should go before the townspeople. They need to know, how much these projects cost and that this money's going towards that. Needs to be open, transparent piece. And I think it doesn't belong back in ARPA. We already did a one-time funding for the town center project last time with ARPA for funds for the appraisal payouts and so forth. And I think at this point that 20,000 can be used for other one-time projects that are likely to have less town-wide support.
So if not to be used on the town center project, which is far along the road, how do we fund that? From free cash? Then how do we fund the $182,000 deficit? From free cash?
Part of it, we have said yes.
So we have enough free cash to do both of those things? The part we wanna fund for the school budget deficit and what'll that leave us in free cash? $500?
No, if you add 3 more zeros and a couple more hundred on that, you're about the number.
Yeah. Our free cash was certified at 806,000, which is something we never, ever expected. However, that doesn't mean it's free cash to use.
Right.
Ryan has stated that over and over and over again, that, once it's gone, it's gone. It's not like, it should be used for things like to put in our capital stabilization account and so it's like a savings account type of thing. But, to take and use some of it for the important things that we need to keep the town running, yes.
So you wanna
Strike the 20,000 from our budget book.
that's what you wanna do.
This is what I wanna do, yes.
What is the timing of all this, so we can, does that have to go to town meeting to put that
Yes.
money there?
Yep.
It's gonna need to go on
And
the
what's the
warrant.
deadline, what's the deadline for the project? Is there a
So-
deadline to get these people their money that they're looking for,
Yeah, they
so
were
this
looking
project
for it
doesn't
last
get the-
month. And so I have said to them, oh, sorry, don't have the funding yet, but yeah, they're actually like waiting for the funding, because I know there's meetings coming up that they've wanted to attend on our behalf, and they've had to push
Have those meetings
off.
so the meetings have been rescheduled.
They've been pushed off for now, yep.
Alright.
What
And
that
this is-
does as far as construction next spring, next summer, I'm not sure, but, cause that is slated to be worked on next summer.
Well, in fairness, we don't know when we would get the $20,000 from ARPA to pay them anyway.
Yeah.
There is a point there,
That's probably,
cause we're still
that's
waiting
the
on that
push.
too.
That's what pushes me over the line here. I'm not prepared to die on a town hill. I got other things I'm
You're
gonna
being
die
out of
for
order.
instead.
Alright, so KP, how do you feel about that?
I'm still not clear on how soon we gotta get them this $20,000.
So I think they
Yesterday.
would like it yesterday, but I mean
So what does that do to the
substantially,
project?
huh?
What does that do to the project?
I mean, regardless, we don't have the money for it, so it doesn't
Meetings have
do
been-
anything at the moment.
Meetings have been pushed off. They would ordinarily have scheduled meetings
So
and
when
started
the project is gonna go in the spring, we said, right? How long are we gonna push these meetings? When's our next town meeting? When can we appropriate? When can the town appropriate?
We have our next
October
town meeting.
29th is-
26th.
So is that on the warrant? Are we gonna get it on the warrant?
We did. Well, we can put it on the warrant's open,
Okay.
so we can put it on the warrant.
Okay. Alright, let's do that then.
Chris, you okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so. Alright, so we're striking that, so that brings
Should-
our,
Should we,
no,
should we
I
do a
feel,
motion and a vote on that?
we'll do a motion at the end.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm not
let's
hoping
do
to
it.
do a motion, it was a slate.
Yeah, exactly.
Alright, so that brings us down to having $77,800 out of balance. So next one I will bring up is the Parks Commission Curtis Field walking track. That one we currently have in here for 50,000, and they were still gonna have to go 20,000 from somewhere else. Is that project currently on the capital projects at all, capital list, is that on?
Don't think so.
Okay. Did they, I don't remember, did they give us a quote on that based on someone coming out to look at it?
I believe they did.
Okay.
We said their application was complete, so there was something.
Yeah, these are cool.
The only thing with that is that could possibly be funded with CPC money, too.
Yes, but I don't think
Right.
there's enough to fund
Yeah.
it in its entirety.
Yeah, I think the
Yeah.
problem that we run into is there's four that fall into that bucket where it's like, oh, well, that could
Yeah.
just be CPC, but
Yep,
there isn't enough CPC to go around.
right.
Caught on camera.
Yeah.
Did you get it?
Of course I did.
All
yes.
right.
So they have a quote of 70,400, but also keep in mind that this would have to go to bid, so that's not gonna be the
Right.
actual, I don't know if this even includes prevailing wage, so I don't even know if I don't know if they'd be able to do it for the 70 in the first place, it might be more, or they might have to do it pieces.
Well,
So we don't, Susan, do you remember if it's on the capital plan?
I don't know,
Okay,
I
cause I
don't-
would think
but
this is
I
a
don't-
project that should
but I
make
don't.
its way.
It probably should, but I don't. It does not sound to me like one that is.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
think so.
Just because of its nature. It is completely new to me.
Yeah.
So. As is the ask for the cemetery commission. I mean, that was new to me
Mhm.
also.
Yeah, that was
And-
not on the capital plan.
And should and should be. For all of you on the cemetery commission who are watching this.
You're a flirt, you little dog.
Everyone that's smiling.
Okay. What is everyone's thoughts on this, KP?
Well, you know, with the conversation we just had about the grant, right, I mean, I was in support of the walking track previously, but, you know, I think I hear you saying that the walking track will have as much as a chance of getting the grant than the trails would, right? Didn't we just say that?
Mm-hmm.
And,
But we can only apply for one.
Yeah.
the walking track.
One this year
will-
anyway, I mean, you could do one this year, one next
The
year.
walking track, can be funded by CPA money.
Yeah. Well, to a certain extent, cause remember, we thought we could easily absorb, or they could potentially absorb 50,000, I don't think they're gonna be able to absorb 70,000 out of CPC money.
Right, well, what if we, then what if we partially funded this?
And that's possible, and maybe they can partially fund and do part of it. I actually
Where is
walked the
70
track
coming
this
from?
weekend. I'm sorry?
Where is the 70 coming
They have a quote from, Barry, American Asphalt in Barry, that comes up to 70,000, but I don't know,
But she says she's got a $20,000 grant in
She-
the application here.
that's, unfortunately, that's what Sandy had said is
She
not
thought,
applicable.
she thought that was coming from the Gobi grant, but it's not. she thought they could split up
Right.
that grant, and that's not available.
Okay. That
What
goes
about-
up to 70,000.
What about the idea of doing contingent?
I'm sorry?
Well, where we make the recommendation, but we also include in the recommendation, similar to, we did it in one of the other, in the first round.
We did it for Habitat for Humanity.
Yeah, where
We
it
didn't do
was-
it contingent so much as we said,
Subject
if
to
you
alternative
don't-
funding
yeah,
or-
if you don't get the CPC funds, then we will fund you.
Yeah, but that's when we had loads of dough. If we do
Yeah.
that here, then we have to take it away from somebody else. And I'm not in favor of that for this go-round, cause we don't have any breathing room.
I mean, I would say,
I propose,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
that's all right, I propose we partially fund.
I would say if we try to partially fund it I mean, you figure only one of these two projects could go for ADA funding, right? Cause only one of them is going to be able to get it. If we fund this one partially, well, one of two things, either we suggest, okay, this is a good project, but maybe we can only do, half of the project this year anyway, I don't know, I mean, I walked the track this weekend, the back of the track is really crappy, the front of the track's not too bad. So even if they did 50% of the track, it's updating it, and it's not, when you say track, it's not what I think of when I think of a track, right? Like, it's a walkway path,
It's
it's
paved,
paved,
isn't it?
it is
Yeah.
literally like a sidewalk without the curb cuts.
Right.
So it's not when I was told the word
Yeah,
track,
I
I was
wonder-
thinking like
Yeah,
bouncy
like-
footy,
Oh,
Like
'cause
running
that's-
Like a track
Yeah.
and field
Yes.
track.
Yeah.
No, it's a
That's-
walking
Those
track.
are $1 million,
yeah, but
not
to me,
70.
It's a
but to
walking
me,
path.
that's what the word
Yeah.
track means, right? So this is more of a circular walking path that goes around the outsides of the.
That's
It's a
paved.
nasty asphalt sidewalk is what it is.
It's relatively
A
wide,
wide, nasty asphalt
but like the whole
sidewalk.
back of it, there's parts where a person I was walking with is a little older than me, and she was tripping on a lot of stuff.
Well, yeah, cause it's crumbling and what have you.
So even if we funded it in part, and let's say they can't do the whole thing, they can figure out how much they can do. Maybe they can do a third, maybe they can do 2/3,
Well, I
but it's
think-
more than they would have done if ARPA hadn't existed.
I think I think in terms of managing the funds they get, that's up to them, but
But I thought we
my
decided we were gonna apply for the grant for this.
So which one do you wanna apply for the grant for, KP? Do you wanna apply for the grant for the trail improvements for open space, or do you wanna apply for the grant for the walking track?
You said we're gonna have more of a chance to get the trail with the grant.
We thought that there would be more of a chance to get the town to approve the allocation of CPC funds
For the
for
walking
the
track.
walking track.
So we would apply for the trail for
Right,
the grant.
right.
Okay, yeah.
So my suggestion is that we partially fund both.
Okay,
And then, like you said earlier, that makes us look better to the grant awarders because
because
we're
we're putting
skin in
some
the
money up
game
front.
and we're trying to show that we have a vested interest in it.
And
Am
we
I-
do, the good news is that our funding for ARPA, we have to expend it by December 2024. So theoretically speaking.
On paper, cause we don't even have it.
Yeah, so hypothetically speaking, if we apply for the grant and we don't get it, we still have we can do another round of the apple next year, look at other funding. Cause there are trail fund grants and so forth that we could try to apply for if that didn't work.
And
Right.
by we, you mean the select board, not this committee reconvening.
This
Correct.
committee will be out of dough and.
Yeah, we'll be gone. I think once we're done substantial, we just push it back to the select board and let them deal with the 10 cents that come back.
Right, so I would suggest that, that we partially fund the walking track and the trail improvements to the tune of whatever it takes to balance, and then we're done.
Alright, well, we have $77,800 that were out of whack.
Okay.
And they're asking between the two of them for 110,000. So 110, although I should be
Each of
asking
them
the
20.
treasurer. What'd you do? What happened?
He sounds happy, so it's good.
He's happy.
That's right, there's no crying, so.
He's not getting
We're all
involved.
good.
What did
He's
he
not
do?
getting
I don't know what he did. KP was laughing. He didn't tell me what happened. He
He-
probably hit his head on something.
No, he's fine, he didn't hit his head at all.
He thinks
He
it's funny
snapped
that
his,
the bottle's
he
full.
snapped his plug off of himself and it came back and whipped him in the leg.
Aw.
And he looked around like, "Who's-"
So
Alright, so
I-
it's 32,200 is what would be the remaining balance.
And
Well-
I would split it.
Now, what else, well, wait a minute, what else is out there unfunded?
Well, I think that gets us mostly done. I still think we need to talk about the cemetery.
Alright, so hold on one second. So 32,200. Susan, you suggested splitting it, so 16,100 for each.
Yeah,
So that's 16,000 for each?
16,100.
Does, and I guess we don't necessarily know the answer in this room, but does that get us to the level of where demonstrating commitment as a town towards some of the grants? I think possibly with the trails, because it's not just the ADA grant they could potentially get, there's the Mass Trails grant, there's potentially some USDA grants for trail development.
yeah, but then we could pony up any difference from CPC for that. And that would be a small enough number that it would probably slide in.
What, I mean, that's not chump change, I mean, if the project is what, 60,000, we're giving more
Almost
than
2/3.
25%
Third, 1/3.
Almost 1/3. Wow.
Yeah.
I got the third in
of the
there.
project, I mean, what's, you know, to your point, what is the expectation, what
Yeah,
what makes our application
What? Honestly, I
look
think
better
the
than
trail.
everybody else's?
I think the trail improvements, making the trail ADA accessible, is a unique project and has a high chance of success if we can get it in, just because it's unique, right? Like, how many times do they do a ramp and an elevator?
Well, I also think the presentation given was pretty compelling. The advocates for this, have this down, and so I think the application would be probably pretty good.
I agree with that.
So. Alright, so other discussions.
So you're gonna leverage them for the application process, right?
That's the idea, or at least for the trail improvements one. I will let the parks know and see what they wanna do. They may wanna start with CPC to get the balance.
Yeah, whatever.
Or
Whatever,
get-
that's up to them, that's
Get a
up to them.
portion of it from them and maybe ask for the balance of 5,000 for free cash or something of the sort, so it's, you know, well-rounded, a little here, a little there.
Yeah, they can do their own ask.
Okay, Chris, you wanted to go back and have further discussion pertaining to cemetery commission? Is that my understanding?
Well, yeah, we had left it open, so I don't think we actually really closed out the discussion on that.
Okay,
'Cause-
That's right. Do you have the application there? Cause they had broken it out in terms of the different cemeteries and the different, and the costs associated. Cause some of them were like a couple $1,000s. The big ticket item was the vinyl fence along 68, which I think was $60,000 or something like that, and then maybe the rest of it was spent among the other locations. My fuzzy memory.
Cemetery.
Let's see what they had to say to us.
So I think another thing that's worth noting for this particular application is that the planning board and the economic development committee are currently working on a long-term project with MRPC to review our town center district and figure out what the size of it should be, and what should come potentially off of that. And one of the things we're gonna talk about is, well, where should the town center zone be? So specifically, when you look at the map there, that little red dot that looks like it's a hurricane track on the map, the red being a little hurricane,
Yeah,
that's the actual town center district,
Yeah.
which is pretty small.
yeah.
One of the goals of the project is to potentially expand that or look at well, changing it and potentially expanding it. So,
To what end?
for encouraging the right kind of growth in that area. But it's also gonna have, there's gonna be some things that look at like aesthetic standards and like things like that. But
Yeah.
where I'm going with that is that there's gonna be stuff that comes out of that down the road that's gonna have impact with potentially, and I don't know if the one on 68th even gets close to where the town center zone could potentially go to.
Kinda looks, is the orange, that orange trail on this?
No, it's just the red. The orange is the
Oh, it's just a
commercial
little
zone.
tiny red.
Yeah, it's just
Oh.
just a little red down at the
Yeah,
bottom.
never mind.
So I don't
Yeah, it
know that it
doesn't.
necessarily goes,
No, it wouldn't go all the way down there.
well, that's the current, not potentially the proposed, so, I just wanted to bring that up as a discussion point. I don't know that it alters.
Does that
it in
mean
any
money?
way.
What does that mean?
It means that we potentially think of the areas surrounding it differently, particularly on 68. Cause really right now we have the DPW and we have what's there. I guess the reason I bring that up is because one of the major things the applicant, well, I don't know if Ed was actually the applicant. I know he was on the committee. Anyways, one of the things that was talked about from the applicant perspective was the idea that the aesthetics were a particular issue.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the aesthetics are gonna be something that's reviewed and discussed heavily in what goes on with the town center planning. I bring it up from that perspective. I don't know that it pushes really any kind of decision-making any way, one way or another. It's just something I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of.
Well.
Okay, is there anything else we wanna have to say on the cemetery commission piece?
Well, I would only point out that there are 4 discrete, asks that total 88,150. The big one is the vinyl fence for 65.
Mhm.
Forest Glen Cemetery has granite posts and black chain for 14,780. Route 68 Cemetery, new 6-foot gate, 4 feet high, for 2,000. And Route 62 Cemetery is, granite posts and black chain for 6370. So we've got some smaller projects, and then of course the big one, which is, for, Evergreen, Rural Glen, and Brookside.
Well, we could support any or all of those, but in doing so, we'd have to first cut our current checkbook.
That's right, that's right.
VP, thoughts?
We decided that CPC funds wouldn't fly for the cemetery commission, I think, in our last meeting. I don't remember why we said that.
Well, it would come out of a different pool, it would come out of the historical,
Okay, all right.
so I don't know if it would or it wouldn't, but
If it would qualify or not, I'm not
I also don't know how much money they have in that account.
right.
Right, and I think we also said that maybe if we were doing granite posts and black chain link fence, that might have more of a historical vibe than a vinyl fence.
Definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
I wonder what it would cost to take down the existing vinyl fence and do the granite on 68, which I would be a big fan of,
That would
personally.
be beautiful.
Yes.
That would.
And it seems to be, well, I don't know if it's cheaper or not. Anywho.
My only thing, and I probably have no say in this, so, but when I talked to Ryan about ARPA, you know, he said first and foremost, if it was related to COVID, it should be approved. Talking about the list. If it was, a capital project item that we could take off of the capital
Right.
list, absolutely. Something like the ambulance and Lombard Road, those projects are so big that they really can't even be on a capital plan, and that was one of the reasons why Lombard Road was
Right.
so successful, because we never would have been able to put that on a capital plan.
Yep.
And then things that could be funded from other sources would be things that you would want to, look at those other funding sources and use the ARPA money for those things that can't be funded any other way. And obviously the businesses who have lost revenue
Right.
and that type of thing, obviously, but so looking at that criteria, I think the way you have done this has definitely been within those lines, and I'm not sure how you would put the cemetery stuff in there. I'm trying to think which pool, of that it would fit in. Would it be a capital project? Maybe.
I think it would be.
We could-
I don't know what else it would be.
It could
It's not
possibly
op- it's not
be a
operational.
capital project, yes.
But it's not taking something off of our capital plan, 'cause it's
No.
not on the capital
No,
plan.
that's
Right.
No, it never that's my observation is that this has never made it to a capital plan, and
Right.
it should.
Right. And there again, is it something that could be funded through the CPC at some point, with their historical bucket,
Any other thoughts from the cemetery commissioner?
Zero funding for the cemetery commission
Okay,
is
That's-
where I'm at.
so we're at the same spot we were when we started on that one. That's good, alright,
Yeah,
so.
it's tough for me because it's something that I want to partially fund, but also while looking at the list, there's nothing there that I would take money away from. Well, there's nothing there that I would take money away from that would be supported by the rest of the committee, I guess is a more accurate way to word that. So
I agree with everything
I think
Chris
it is what it
saying,
is.
But I guess I'm a little more cut and dry than he is. For all the reasons he said, I say no funding to.
Well, the only thing, unless we're gonna revisit
I
some
mean, I
of
don't
these
even
other
know if we have
numbers.
clarity on it. We're talking about gates, we're talking about chain and slate and this, that, and the other thing. I mean, it just seemes like, and what are there's like 5 or 6 cemeteries in town.
I guess you'd have to pick which project.
Well, here's the whole list, this looks, I don't know how you get any more clear than that unless you want a picture.
Yeah.
Well, if we're living with all of the other numbers, then the only thing we haven't talked about is the outdoor space for this building.
Oh,
No, where's the memo?
La da 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 da.
Which I would be prepared to, give a haircut to give the cemetery commission something
You'd be prepared to do a haircut for the senior
for the
center?
deck.
I would support that for the reason that they've been good fundraising, and I think if we were to do like a partial fund of a couple of the projects for the cemetery, like even if we just pick the bottom 2 or something like that, just to get
Yeah.
them started, like
Exactly,
the
yeah, and encourage them for the billionth time on film here to put something into the capital plan.
Just keep in mind that depending on how much you're funding there, it's gonna hit certain procurement gates, and certain procurement gates are gonna get more expensive.
Well, it wouldn't, and specifically wouldn't if we hit the bottom, so the procurement threshold is 10,000.
And what is it, help the
It
rest of us
depends on
who
what
don't
you're
know.
doing, so it's, you're gonna be talking 39M, cause it's horizontal construction, so it's the installation of a fence, unless we bought the fence and DPW people putting it in, then it's goods and services, chapter 30B. The distinction between them, under chapter 30B, if we're just buying the goods and services and we're installing them ourselves, we don't have to pay prevailing wage. Prevailing wage is where the cost goes.
Is there an installation line item in that number? Cause
Not-
it says the DPW is dismantling the existing fence, they're
Will they
probably
be
gonna set it on
assembling the
fire.
new fence?
So
I don't know,
the
that's what I'm
Route
asking.
62 one, which is 11.6 by 6 granite posts, 6 feet high, 1,600, 72 feet of black chain, $720, installation 4,000.
Installation, so there it is, so your prevailing wage is part of the see that 4,000, that's, unless it's all together, but that would be the installation piece, so you're talking prevailing wage. So prevailing wage for those projects attaches at $0, $0, which is fine, and under 10,000, if you're keeping the project under 10,000, then they just have to solicit 3 written bids, or in writing solicit 3 bids and then post in certain locations. And then award to the lowest bidder.
Well, fine, I mean, they know all this, and so
Yeah.
we would just give them some money and then do what they have to do.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna get into the minutia of that.
I would
for
support
them.
doing that, funding the Route 62, for the 6370 and the Route 68 cable.
So what is that, like 8 or 9 grand?
Yeah, it would be 8370.
Yeah, that's,
So
do
where
that
do you want to, you wanna do a haircut to the,
deck.
To the
see,
deck.
I'm not okay with doing haircut to the deck, well, I'm gonna be the opposition here. I think the COA deck is a huge important project, I think it's supported by the state with the legislature putting aside money for it, I think the COA, Friends Committee have done a really great job raising money, I think they have people in the wings ready to make this happen, I think they came back to this project giving us everything we asked them for. The number 60,000, I think overall they estimate about 100,000 with 15,000 inside for contingency. And I just want to make sure that we're fully supporting this so that they can move forward and make it happen. And I think we don't do enough for our seniors in town, and seniors come here and they wanna use the space, and they wanna do it outside, I think we give it to them.
See, I think you can take a lot of those facts and use them to make the opposite argument.
Right.
Like the fact that they have a good, effective Friends of organization is a good reason to push some of the fundraising back onto them, because the Cemetery Commission doesn't have Friends of organization to go out and help them through it.
Wants to be a treasurer.
And- And they historically have to struggle for funding.
We found a baby gate.
It's the doggy gate, but it'll work, right? Okay.
That's why I would be partial to the senior center, receiving a small haircut, cause I think in our conversations with them, and I hope I'm not crossing memories here, they did also comment on their fundraising ability.
They did.
So I don't think we're putting an impediment in front of them, and I also don't think that we're not communicating value to the seniors by making it a grant for $46.50 instead of $60,000. Plus, the select board can feel free to disagree with us, but
Well, not 46, it would be 56.
no, if you subtract.
How much are you funding?
Sorry.
It was what,
It would be
8,900?
50.
So it's
Yeah, it would be-
51, 52, you
Yeah.
know, call it 10 grand or whatever. I mean, it'd be 50, so it's like 51 or 52.
So how much do you wanna fund the cemetery commission by?
8370.
So 8,500, so that my life is saner.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah, so they would get 51.5 for the deck.
KP, are you in support of that?
while we're young, KP.
I can live with that.
Okay.
Oh, no, what happened? What happened?
She's locked out.
Oh, what
Don't you hate when that happens? You go, bud. Alright, so I have here, just to follow up, we got Giacomo's kitchen upgrades, $15,039.18. Parks Commission, Curtis Field walking track, partial funding of $16,100. Council on Aging, new outdoor space, $51,500. Fire Department, new ambulance, $250,000. Cemetery Commission, specifically, what were the two ones?
Route 62 and Route 68.
Route 62 and Route 68?
Yeah, is what the subcategories in the project was.
Okay.
yes.
For the total of $8,500. Town administrator scanning town hall town documents, $13,611.05. Hair for You, $31,445.08. Open space trail improvement, $16,100. Plainview Farm gift shop enhancement, $26,450.
Alright, and that totals to our magic number?
I'm gonna do the math one more time to make sure that, Google, spreadsheet did not let me down.
Yay.
Next time, we should always ask people to round up to whole numbers.
There will be no next time.
Yeah.
Next type of project that's similar to this.
There better
Future
not-
requests.
Better not be one in my lifetime.
Yeah.
State's got $3 billion to give us.
I don't want another pandemic.
No.
This is what's happening here.
Okay. 428, 745, and
Change.
31 cents, which rounds us
Yay.
up to 428, 746.
Perfect, yay, good work.
Alright, do
Excellent.
I have a motion to approve I'm sorry again. Do I have a motion to recommend the slate as read to the select board for approval of use of ARPA funds?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second,
Okay, Christopher,
I
Susan,
Aye.
KP,
Yes.
Heather, aye. Okay. Alright, so we'll make that recommendation, our next meeting is in 2 weeks, so we'll get that before them, I'll get all the documents, I'll scan the things in and write the amount of money and put it together a pretty package for them with a memo. In the meantime, let's see, so we're all set with that, do we have any matters not reasonably anticipated by the chair, KP?
None.
Awesome, anyone else?
yes.
You're gonna are you gonna make us have another meeting to approve all these minutes?
Exactly.
Cause I'm not
I think
gonna attend except by Zoom.
we're waiting for Tony to type them, and what we could probably do is I think Zoom meetings are still permitted as of right now.
Yeah.
So we should be able to,
Hybrid meetings are definitely permitted, so.
we'll figure it out. If
Okay.
we need to do it that way, otherwise we'll send it to the select board to approve at the end of the day. So, if we have to.
So
As a
like we're gonna
separate
approve the
meeting.
ARPA minutes, how does that
They'll just accept it.
work? Oh, okay.
I think it'd be better if we because ultimately, at the end of the day, you're still gonna have one meeting that you're not gonna be able to approve, right? You're just gonna have that last meeting.
Mhm.
That's right.
Like a
So.
never-ending cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
We can never disband.
That's
Okay.
right. Right, but it's one thing to have that as opposed to a fistful of minutes,
Yeah.
which,
Okay. That being said, it's 7:30, I will accept the motion to adjourn.
so
So
moved.
Okay,
Second.
Susan, second by Chris, all in
Yay.
favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, we are adjourned, 7:30 PM.
Aye.